All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Geopolitical Trends, where truth matters. Excited to be with you as always. Interesting developments that's taking place in Lebanon, southern Lebanon, that is. And that is why I said yesterday I'm going to keep up with this development at least before I leave to Asia to keep providing you updates and so you'll understand where the dynamics of these developments are going forward. So I'm gonna get into it right away, guys, because I got a lot to cover, but I also have to head out to the airport very, very shortly. So here's the topic for those who might be wondering what we're gonna be covering today. What I'm gonna be covering is about the presence now of about 40,000 fighters in the Golan Heights. They are waiting on orders from Hezbollah's Secretary General, Mr. Hassan Nasrallah. So that is why you're gonna now see a different dimension to the fight, and that to the open fight. I should use the term open fight because so far there's still limitations over there. But with what Hezbollah just did this morning, and I'm gonna share a clip with you to highlight to you that things are moving into a different direction. Exactly what we've been talking about in previous live stream. So here are the key questions we're going to need to consider as we move forward. And this might sound to some, it's like, no, Dr. O, this can't be, but there is a possibility of that. The first question is, will Israel survive an attack from multiple fronts? We're not talking just southern Lebanon, talking multiple fronts. And I'm going to share with you in this analysis here another group that just got involved now. So second question is, are gloves off? You all know what it means. And I did put it, one of the thumbnails, I had a title on it that way, gloves off, because that's what it looks to me from the Hezbollah side. Third question is, what will the US do? As a matter of fact, yesterday there was a report right here in the US. Of course, the Pentagon has to sort of one of the US Navy fuel tanker has been damaged. The Pentagon didn't disclose what it was, so we don't know. Was it damaged? Was it a mechanical error, technical error, or was it targeted? We don't know. So the question anyway, what will the US do? And the fourth question is, are we looking at a new regional geopolitical order? Because those are worth questions to ask and consider as we move forward into all this. So, all right, let me start with the clip. I'm going to start with the clip that I just got this morning, as a matter of fact, and I'll let you see it with your own eyes. And it's just, you'll see. Hold on a second. Let me share screen with you. And this from Tel Aviv. So take a listen and please give me a thumbs up if you can hear. Great. I just wanted to share that with you. And this one was from the TRT, which is a Turkish public broadcast. So this way, why is this important? Is that now Hezbollah is targeting Tel Aviv. That's a game changer, because before, a few months ago, everybody was under the assumption that the Iron Dome is going to protect. Apparently, it's proven ineffective. So and here is one thing that now been disclosed by the Israeli newspapers, is that the estimation is that Hezbollah has about over 100,000 rockets. My own research found out about over 150,000. So 50,000 difference, it's a sizable difference there. So and by the way, maybe they are referring to this 100,000 rockets are only set to hit Israel. And this is according to the Israeli security source. So it's not me just saying this. My knowledge is about the missiles that Hezbollah has in its possession is over 150,000. The second thing is Hezbollah moving into this direction now? Is that suggest that Iran might have delivered the new weapons to Hezbollah? Russia might have delivered some? It's just worth asking a question. And the other thing that we need to consider is that now the Israeli newspaper, the Haaretz, which is well established and reputable, at least what it informed, is that it says that the army now in Israel, inside Israel, is nervously watching this arrival of these 40,000 fighters. And where are they going to come from? They're coming from Syria, Iraq, and Yemen. And all of them heading out to the area of the Golan Heights. And let me share a map with you, so for you to place it in perspective for you guys to at least understand where things are. And if I can get to the map or the picture, I think I have a picture here. Yeah, right there, guys. So when you look at, they coming from different locations. You know, we're looking at Iraq, Yemen, and of course Syria. And this is why Israeli security services now are very concerned, because all they're waiting on, those 40,000, just the word from Hassan Nasrallah to say, go ahead, meaning gloves are off. Because once you move into that direction, there is no going back. But you need to understand, at least I'm going to provide you a snapshot, historical one that is, to understand how those groups came to be. To understand that, you have to go back to 1979. What happened in 1979? The major event that took place in the Middle East. So let me just, of course, like I always say, I like you to be part of the conversation. 1979, the major events. I mean, anywhere in the world, you should know about what happened in 1979. Iranian overthrow, hairless ape, you got it. Behrad, you got it. GM, you mentioned Beirut, but this one has to do. Amir Afsar, you got it. Iranian Revolution. Why is this important? Because when Iran toppled the monarchy at that time, because the Shah was a puppet of the US, what they end up doing is they end up forming, because by the time they took over, right away, they formed the powerful military, paramilitary group, which is till today still stands, the IRGC, the Iran Revolutionary Guard Corps, which that one in itself consisted of 5 branches, including one of the main one. And the main one is Quds Force, was headed by the late Suleiman Qasim, or Qasim Soleimani, General Qasim Soleimani. Well, what is the importance about Quds Force? Quds Force has the expertise in founding, funding, training, and advising groups overseas. So basically what Iran did right after 1979, went ahead and established these groups as an insurance policy. And here we are today, 40 years later. This is why Iran has built this complicated network of groups, be they in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Gaza, and Yemen. So some the term that is used now, and you can find it in the analysis or white papers, they're using the term axis of resistance. So, and I've read it many times, the term that is. So, and this is why you are seeing what you are seeing moving forward. And I will provide you a link about this history, guys, just for you to understand. So let's go back to our topic about the 40,000 fighters that they are now waiting the orders. So the newspaper, Haaretz, that is, as I mentioned, quoted an Israeli security official that's saying that we are now concerned, we are worrying, because if this is just one front, which is the Golan Heights, can you imagine what it's going to be elsewhere? And I'm trying to locate one particular map that I had. Yeah, right there. I'm going to share this with you guys because you need to see geographically where everything is. It'll make more sense to you. So I'm sharing screen here with you. And I give the credit to the World Atlas for the map. So, okay, let me see if it'll show up. There we go. So World Atlas. So I'm going to raise it up a little bit here for you to see. And this is where you see the whole region here for Syria, southern Lebanon, and of course with the Daraa and Shuwaida, Damascus, and so forth. So when you look at the Golan Heights right here at the bottom, so there are all this concern around this area. I know you can see my cursor where it's pointing out. But this is where the concerns for the Israeli security services and fighters, and those are not, by the way, just to give you, those are not some elite. You can use the term foot soldiers. Some people use that term, usually foot soldiers, but just let's use the term fighters. That's all it is. So the thing is that the Israeli security now are seeing this as a really dangerous presence of those fighters, because between that and the missiles now that are hitting Tel Aviv from Hezbollah, we're not talking Houthis yet. We're not talking the next group that's been just launched yesterday morning, early morning at dawn at about 4:53 a.m. according to my sources here that I saw, and I'll disclose that to you. So this is why now the newspaper, the Israeli Haaretz, is estimated that Hezbollah has the capabilities that threatens not only Tel Aviv, but also maritime areas and economic waters of Israel. It's simple, guys. Very, very simple. Hezbollah did not want to play all its cards. And rightly so. That's a strategic move. You will be, one will be stupid to go ahead and show all the cards. You know, this is why Hassan Nasrallah is being calculated. And he's always been that way. So it's like checker moves or chess, if I may use the term. So the concern now that Israel has is that the missiles that are raining in on Tel Aviv. So because everybody was under the impression that Tel Aviv, the Iron Dome, was protecting the entire, especially the key. Tel Aviv is a major city inside Israel. And that explains why all of a sudden Israelis wants to move the fight from Gaza into southern Lebanon. Because they're looking at 3 million people, Israeli settlers in the North Israel, have left. So the area is deserted. Because everybody knows what's coming. Like I always say, Hezbollah is not your average group either, or force to be dealt with. So, because the Hezbollah army is far stronger than that of the Lebanese government itself. And of course, Hezbollah will have to have its own calculations, and I will disclose this as we move forward. Well, of course, beside this one, all this comes in retaliation to the Israelis' hundreds of attacks that's been targeted on the not only just on Syria, but also in the parts of the southern Lebanon. And this is where that estimation about Hezbollah having over 100,000 rockets, those are, and now I get it. I get it why the security Israeli disclosed that number. This number is specifically to target Israel. This is not the overall amount of rockets Hezbollah has. To my knowledge, as far as missiles, they have in their possession over 150,000, to my knowledge. So, and this becomes now within Israel some sort of an internal dysfunction. Why is this? It's because now you got inside officials in the government that's saying, well, maybe we need to transfer the fight from Gaza to pressure Hezbollah, which will be a catastrophe for Israel. Because now the survival of Israel is going to be dependent to a degree where things are going to move forward. If you have 40,000 fighters on standby, we're not talking upgrade missiles and some technologies there. We're talking just troops on the ground, foot on the ground, soldiers on the ground. So for them, for the officials inside the government to be saying, let's attempt to move the fight from Gaza into southern Lebanon, it's a strategic mistake. First of all, if you do that, that proves that you couldn't defeat Hamas, which was the whole objective of why this whole fight came about, right? But also, Israel thinking about it in terms of strategic calculation, that they're going to score political points in case they end up fighting Hezbollah. Well, you fight Hezbollah, are you going to defeat Hezbollah? I mean, come on, let's get real here. Which means what? That's going to leave you, Israel in this case, with one option and one option only, is to go into Lebanon, southern Lebanon. We all know what happened in 2006. Hezbollah is far stronger today than it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and so forth. And this is one of the ideas of how the decision by the Israeli to launch those kind of attacks, or widespread attacks on Lebanon, is to see if they could sway the public support inside Israel to move from Gaza into southern Lebanon. It's because the concern is more with Hezbollah, more so than it is now with Gaza. Because he proved, for a simple reason, he proved that Israel couldn't defeat Hamas and will not defeat Hamas, in my opinion. That's just how I see it. And the idea that, of course, if you recall, since the beginning of October 7th, there were about 137,000 dead within Palestinians. Of course, more than 10,000 people were missing also, and children included, and so forth. So, but all this comes on the heels of 2 or 3 main things I'm going to share with you, and that's part of my own analysis about this one. Well, the first one has to do with, let me share the picture. I think not this one. I don't remember. I don't think so. I kept the picture here, guys. But anyway, I don't have it here. No worries. I've been reading last night, because when I decided to do this for you, I had to go and read up on stuff to get up-to-date information. So, and I, of course, as you all know, guys, I do speak Arabic language, MS, Modern Standard Arabic. And here is what it says in the foreign language, you know. أعلن فصيل عراقي مسلح شن هجومين على شمال وجنوب إسرائيل، وذلك على ضوء التصعيد والهجمات التي تشنها تل أبيب على لبنان وغزة. The translation, basically, it says, now the Iraqi armed faction is getting involved. So the Iraqi armed faction announced 2 attacks on northern and southern Israel in light of the escalation and attacks launched by Tel Aviv on Lebanon and Gaza. So basically what you're looking at, and like I said about a month and a half ago, guys, I told you, if Israel moves forward into Lebanon, it's going to be dealing with 4 fronts. Hezbollah, the Houthis, the Iran in itself, and of course the Iraqi group, which is the Islamic resistance in Iraq. And this group, that's the one stated, as a matter of fact, this morning, Wednesday at dawn this morning, that it attacked, it launched, Iraqi described it as vital targets in northern Palestine. And it launched a missile, by the way. It's not some just drone, whatever. So the same armed faction group announced that it has attacked another target near the Jordan Valley. But that one was with drones, stating that the attack is in support of our people in Palestine and in a response to the massacre committed by the entity against civilians. End of quote. That's their quote. So of course Israel acknowledged this. Why? Because it detected the launch of a march that entered Israeli airspace from the east and landed in Wadi Araba area in southern Israel, which means what, guys? In a simple language, that the air defense was useless. So, and I have the link in the phone language if you ever wants to read, for those who read the phone language. And so, now, the second thing to all this has to do with a major event that just took place yesterday, which we talked about it. You remember when I talked to you about Tartus, right? Let me share a picture with you so you have an idea of what are we looking at. Here, it's very, very important, the timing of it. That's not the picture. Okay. Yeah, that's not this one, guys. Pardon me. Yeah, you look at this picture here, guys. And if you look at, it's written in Arabic right here. It's also in English. You see it right here. It says, where it says Cyprus, on the right is Tartus in Arabic. It's also in English. And you see beneath it is Tripoli, then Beirut, and so forth. Why is this important? It is important because an air attack targeting Syria's Tartus took place yesterday by Israel. So makes you just wonder, why will Israel go, given what it's dealing with, go and attack a location in Syria? And this is nothing new. It's because when you look at, since 2011, Israel has carried out hundreds of attacks on Syria. It was till 2016 and 17 when the Russians put an end to that. Because Russia warned Israel that next time it will shut down their fighter jets. So it makes you just wonder, is Israel launch of this attack in Tartus a response to the statements by the Kremlin, that the Kremlin condemned the attack of Israel on Lebanon? Could it be? Maybe, maybe not. Could it also be that the fighters are coming from one particular location in Tartus, meaning that's where they all congregate and deployed from there? The possibility is there. However, the Syrian army was able to intercept this suspected Israeli missile, which was targeting the Mediterranean city port of Tartus. So there is one important thing I need you to know, and I'm going to share it with you as far as the history of Tartus. A lot of people here in the West have no clue about the history of Tartus. Yes, it is on the Mediterranean, as you see on this map here. Overlook the Mediterranean right there. Very, very strategic location. And that's why the Russians, even back then, the Soviet Union decided to establish that naval base. But here is the thing you need to know about the city of Tartus, which is in western Syria. And this one is situated on the Mediterranean coast, opposite to Arwad Island. To those who live in the area or familiar with the area, you know what I'm talking about. And the interesting thing about it, about Tartus, it was founded in the antiquity as the Antarados. That was the original name, Antarados, which was a colony of the Ardos, Aradus, which is now, it's known as the Arwad Islands. So the name has changed over centuries. It was built, or rebuilt rather, in 346 CE by none other than Emperor Constantine I. So, and of course, when the city was built back then, it was flourished during the Roman and the Byzantine times. Of course, what happened after that? Crusaders occupied Tartus. This is the reason why, if you go to Tartus now, you see some monuments or some buildings. One of them is the church. So, of course, they occupied the Tartus at the time. Was known as Tortosa, Tortosa, Tortosa. And in the Middle Ages, you know, that's when it converted into a fortress town and successfully defending it against devastating attacks in the 12th century. What happened in the 12th century? You all know which empire was during the 12th century. Let me just test your historical knowledge here. If you can type in the chat box, guys, which empire in the 12th century? You all should know by now. Let me see. I'm waiting to see on the chat box here. Mongol, no. Persians, no. The Ottoman, Robert Marley, Arkatel, Ottoman, Khalid, you got Robert. You guys got it. It was the Ottoman. But good try for those for the Mongol. But we were talking about that specific location. So the 12th century, and they were driven by the Arabs in 1291, and from the beginning of the Ottoman conquest. That's where it was. So the town declined in importance. So, and this one, it was until its port. This is where the port came to play a major role. The port was rejuvenated in the 20th century. And of course, that's why I said, if you ever go to that area, you're going to see the Cathedral of Our Lady of Tortosa, still there, which is now a museum, by the way. And this one is a perfect example of what took place in the 13th century Crusaders architecture. So the Castle of the Templar, which is late in the 12th century, early 13th century, now mostly is in ruins because there is nobody pay attention to this. But you can just see this in certain parts of Tartus. What's important about all this is that Syria's second port after Latakia, Tartus is the second one after Latakia. Latakia is very, very important. But Tartus is also a fishing port and the center of a rich agricultural region. And that is the reason why in 1971, the Soviet Union established a small base in Tartus, and it remained under the Russian control till today. Till, of course, 2003, because Soviet Union ceased to exist and was replaced by the Russian Federation. This is why it's important to understand why all of a sudden, this missile being launched on Tartus. So, but the Syrian defense system, because Syrian defense system is being equipped with the Russian S-400 missile systems. So, and that is why it's important for you to understand. The third element, it has to do with now Hezbollah deepened its strikes, but has not yet used all its cards. Could it be the coincidence of the 40,000 fighters waiting to coincide with the launching of missiles at the same time? The possibility is there. And remember, we're not even talking yet Iran being involved. You're talking 3 locations: Iraq, Syria, and Yemen, in addition to Hezbollah, of course. And this is why Hezbollah has increased now the number and the depth of its rocket it fires on the Israeli cities over the past 2 days, just 2 days. This morning, there was reported by Israeli newspapers that Tel Aviv has been attacked by a missile from Hezbollah. We're not talking Houthis yet. So. But this I read one particular statement by a retired Major General. His name is Faiz Ad-Duwairi. And he stated that Hezbollah bombarded areas 45 kilometers deep inside Israel as of Monday. So then it reached about 65 kilometers on Tuesday. So you move from 45 kilometers depth into 65 kilometers with about 200 rockets fired in 1 hour. 1 hour. This is what I'm saying, guys. We're looking now at a different phase of the Hezbollah involvement inside. This picture is the Israeli bombardment, not Hezbollah, just to let you know. And that's very important to understand this. They also, this retired Major General also added that about 1.5 million Israelis within range of rockets or vulnerable to entering bomb shelter. So basically what you're looking at, we're not even talking, listen carefully guys, we're not even talking yet about Hezbollah activating the principle of Beirut versus Tel Aviv, meaning the attack that Israel conducted and Hezbollah will retaliate. We didn't even get to that yet, or Hezbollah didn't get to that yet. So, and this is why you are now noticing why the Israeli cabinet, there's a conversation inside to move the front from Gaza into southern Lebanon, because Israel thinking that they want to hit Hezbollah centers of gravity. Because where is that center of gravity? In southern Lebanon. But it will be a mistake of Israel. That's why I always said it will be a mistake if Israel will go inside Lebanon. And what we're going to do? What will the US do? We'll be forced. This is like you go back to the 6-day war back then. You know, we didn't go openly, of course, but we were behind the scenes providing intelligence and support to Israelis. This one's going to be different. And who's to tell? Who's to tell? All the US troops will have to do is change the uniform. Come on. Tell me they are not good. There are tactics of doing it, which will be, the problem it will be is when you start seeing body bags coming to the US, because those bodies will have to be sent for burial. So, and this is where, in my own analysis, the way I see it, the idea of why Israel decided to a degree, partially move the fight from Gaza into Israel, because he wanted to break the will of Hezbollah, which you and I know ain't going to happen. You know, by striking the military command systems and force Hezbollah to accept a certain outcome. I don't think so. I think the Israeli, either the generals or the officials, whatever, they are talking in the hypotheticals. What if? You know, once again, let's face the reality. Hezbollah today, as I mentioned, is far stronger than what it was 10 years ago. And if Hezbollah in 2006, almost 20 years ago, was able to drive Israel out, what do you think they will be able to do today? And the evidence is there, guys. The Iron Dome is not able to protect Israelis from rockets or missiles. So I'm just being realistic here. That's all. It's not a criticism against Israel, whatever. No. It's providing the fact, because that's what we do in this community here, guys. There is no hypes. I don't buy that. You know. Okay. But there is one of the objective of Israel also for why he wanted to move the operations into targeting Hezbollah, because he wants to push Hezbollah into return beyond the Litani River, and also to allow the Israeli population that left northern Israel to move back, which I don't think so they're going to do. Do you know what's going to happen? And this is why now Tel Aviv, almost Tel Aviv in itself, is becoming now a target. It's because Iron Dome proves that is ineffective. So breaking Hezbollah will and forcing it to accept, I don't think so. This means that Israel will have to continue to destroy southern Lebanon and displace its own population. So that just, I don't see it. And I couldn't agree more with the Major General Doueiri, who argued the same point, like what Israel did in Gaza, but they want to move the fight into southern Lebanon. Two different settings, two different capabilities, two different environments. I just don't see how Israel could achieve that. It's just not going to work, you know. And the thing is, if Israel doesn't achieve this, then what's next? You know, it will have no choice but to go inside Lebanon on the ground, which this will be another crisis. That's why I just don't see how Israel could do this. They dug themselves in a major hole. It was a strategic mistake. You know, Prime Minister Netanyahu wasn't calculating strategy. You can force sometimes doesn't resolve issues. Have to be very smart and strategic. And that's exactly what Hezbollah is doing. And this is why now you're seeing those factions now, or groups are coming, or axis of resistance, as they call them. They're moving together. So, and this is why this concentration of this 40,000, it's in the Syrian Golan. It's not the occupied part. It's the Syrian Golan. So, which means what? If Israel wants to fight this, it will require a massive military offensive operation there, which they can afford at this point, which means we have to do it for them. And if the US gets involved, especially prior to elections, regardless what you hear are saying, even Trump himself saying, well, it looks like the Middle East is going to move into World War III. Come on, man. Stop playing with words and this nonsense. Because Trump himself is it will be the support for Israel will be unquestionable. So come on, let's be realistic. And this is why I don't understand these damn politicians being this liar as they can get to our face. They lie to your face. It's like what an insult. Thinking we can think for ourselves. So then you start to the last point I'm going to address here before I will answer your questions, guys. The other aspect, it has to do with Israel's strategic calculations, if there are any, because apparently so far all the calculations have not yielded the results. One of the most objective was to defeat Hamas, and they weren't able to, and they won't be able to. So what Israeli news channels inside are saying, and I'm going to state one or two examples for you. What they are saying basically is that the ceasefire, okay, if this happens in Gaza, will turn the achievements in Lebanon into a strategic gain. I don't think so. I just don't think so. How they are assuming that this is what it's going to be. No, it won't happen. It won't happen. And this is why you are seeing, for example, yesterday at the UN, United Nations General Assembly, the head of states were talking, and I saw the head of Qatar. Well, we need to convince all the countries for ceasefire. Come on, man. Enough talk. Same with Turkey. They showed something, whatever. I didn't listen to all that because I know it just hypes, no more, no less. You can't trust what they're saying. What they're saying, just words. It's in action that matters, and they don't have the bone. They don't have the gut to take stand when it matters. Like I always say, guys, what you say versus what you do, two opposite ends. So the idea that like example, as I mentioned to you, Channel 13, which is a major one in Israel, so says that, or suggested that the commanders inside Israel have told the security cabinet that a ceasefire in Gaza will turn Lebanon achievements into a strategic gain. But again, how? How are they going to turn into strategic gain when you couldn't even protect Tel Aviv from missiles? No. Now, and this is why the army officials, this is according to the channel, are arguing that Israel might have to take action into southern Lebanon, because it won't be able to achieve that without taking those actions. But those actions will be costly, will be very, very costly. So, and this is why when you look at what this is the reason why I wanted to do this for you, because there's 40,000 fighters, all they're waiting for a green light from Hassan Nasrallah. That's all they're waiting for, because it's done. That's it. There's no going back. This is why Hassan Nasrallah is determined to continue the fight. So, because they know they're gonna end up, Hezbollah in this case, and all other groups, they're gonna end up having the upper hand. Of course, the US will have to make a major decision to get involved in war. I mean, ask any Americans, do they even know where things are? And some of my fellow citizens, I don't mean to be disrespectful, because I respect everybody. It's just they are clueless. They are oblivious. That's just how some of us are, because we are poor readers of history. We don't tend to want to educate ourselves about the issues and understand. And the reason being because we wanted to depend on mainstream media telling us the analysis and the conclusion. Well, of course, it's going to sway you one direction or another. No, that's just the reality of it. So if you're going to ask Americans, if I am to go outside and ask, do you think the U.S. will get involved in a war in Israel against Hezbollah? This is like, what is that? Yeah, it's sad, but that's the reality of it. So. Now, there is one thing I need to mention to you, very, very important, that you need to understand. And I didn't see even the research that I did from overseas, they didn't address this much. And I bet you it is. Knowing what I know, I bet you it is. Which is that Hassan Nasrallah himself, how is he assessing the risk of all this? Because he knows, he fully understands, once you get into this, you are dragging the Lebanese society as a whole. Of course, Hezbollah is part of the Lebanese society, is the fabric of society. The government can do squat without Hezbollah. Hezbollah army is far stronger than the established government. That's one. Second thing is, Hezbollah will have to think in terms of the amount of devastation that could lead into, should he move forward with this. And I bet you he is weighing the options on all this, because that becomes, when you are in charge, this is not about just you. It's about the people you represent. I know massive amount of people inside Lebanon do support Hezbollah. But again, I prepared the video for you guys about Lebanon's economy, because you need to understand a few things, and I address this particular point. And once I release it, you'll see it. So, but this is one of the things that I believe Hassan Nasrallah is thinking about. But on the other hand, you start to see now the phase of this conflict moving up into the direction. This is why I wanted to do the update, and I might even do it more before I leave to Asia soon. So this is why I need you to understand those dynamics, because it's going to be reported like in Britain, like in France, Germany, the US, Belgium, you name it, Australia, Japan. They're going to be wording certain things, certain ways to manipulate the masses without telling them the accurate assessment, and let people decide for themselves. So. And the last thing I'm going to address has to do with this incompetent idiot here, right here. You all know who this is, right? Can you type in a chat box? This bonehead individual here. I respect him as a human being, but in his possession, you're damn useless. Let me see who that is. Well, no. I know we don't care. I know we don't care. But sometimes you have to understand who's who to make sense of. So I understand. One of you guys wrote, "Who cares?" Right? No, we do. That Stammer. Okay. Why is this important? Of course, he is a servant. For why we tell him to do whatever we want him to do. I tell you this straightforward. Same with Germany. Same with France to a degree, but even with France, Italy, you guys got the idea. Well, here's the thing: British troops in Cyprus. Now they are going to be deployed over there. Okay. So Britain just announced the cabinet. Starmer announced that the British troops will be sent to Cyprus to help evacuate its citizens. Yeah, that's bullshit. Pardon my language. It's nonsense. Because here's the thing. What did the Pentagon announce the day before? The same thing. We're going to deploy troops. They didn't disclose the numbers. And what did the Pentagon say? Oh, to evac the citizens. No, it's not. It is not. Both the US and the UK deploying the troops to support what's taken down right now inside Tel Aviv and in the border between Israel and southern Lebanon. That is the reason why. All this hypes about it's not true. It is not true. So when you hear the Prime Minister of UK, well, we're gonna send troops because the citizens, in case they are trapped in Lebanon, after what Israel launched the raids across Lebanon that have so far left more than 600 dead and 2,000 wounded. No. This is the same argument I've made, guys, regarding the Red Sea. You all remember? As a matter of fact, now an official, listen carefully, an official inside the Yemeni government disclosed that despite US attacks or launching missiles with the UK, they couldn't defeat the Houthis. And now they're announcing it openly. So, anyway, this is what I wanted to share with you. I don't have anything else to add, because if I don't have anything of substance, I stop talking. That's just my nature. So, and I'm going to answer some of your questions. Remember, guys, to join me on Friday at 1900 hours for my conversation with Kaza. On Saturday at 12 for the end of the month community conversation. You don't want to miss that, because I'm going to be sharing some pictures. I might do another live stream for you on Friday to give you an update about all this. We'll see how things go, and we just go from there. Like always, I cannot just move forward without saying thank you to those who've been supporting the channel, supporting the Asia trip, and so forth. So, guys, let me first, because I saw one of you put no, I drew a blank, guys. When I have so many things to think about, super sticker, that's what it is. Isa Al-Kubi, thank you so much for your super sticker. You wrote, they have been fighting the resistance groups way before I was born, and I will not succeed in defeating them. So what makes the West and the Israelis to believe they will defeat the resistance now? Spot on, Isa, because here is the thing, guys. I just want to share this with you. Knowing what I know about the culture, and I'm very familiar with it, spend a lot of time in that. Yeah, they don't fear. I saw it in Afghanistan, I saw it in Yemen, I saw it in Iraq, Syria, Jordan, you name it. It's in parts of the world. They don't fear that. That is part of a process. And we all have, of course, West is slightly different, because we fear that. Not all of us, I shall not generalize. I don't fear that, because I know it's a reality. It's going to come on its own time. When time for me to check out, it's time to check out. There is no ifs and buts. That's at least one thing we all are equal on. So, and that is my point. So when they fight, yeah, I'm going to die today or die next 10 years. It won't matter. And this is why in the West, they couldn't understand that. So I understand your point, Isa, and it's spot on. So thank you so much for your super sticker. Marlon Takiban, thank you so much for your super sticker. Truly appreciate you for that. So, all right, let me answer some of your questions, guys, and we just go from there, because I need to head out to the airport quickly. All right, Matt Backey, it's a statement, not a question. Doc, every 6 weeks the UK gets a new clown. Sorry, I mean Prime Minister, and you expect us to remember the new clown name. You're right. Good point, Matt. I wonder who the next clown is going to be. So, Ramples01, thanks for sharing this, by the way. Cyprus will be a big trouble. They are denying involvement, but there are videos of French, British, and American warships at the Limassol port. So they are involved. I couldn't agree more. Thank you for sharing this one here. That is yeah, it's happening. The same thing I'll say about certain states in the Gulf, in the Arab states, like Bahrain, like United Arab Emirates, like Qatar, Like, they all just wishy-washy. Like Jordan in itself, they just hypes, no more, no less. No more, no less. So Sam, good to see you, Sam. How might Russia respond militarily to defend its interest in Tartus? Were bombed. Oh, they will. They will, because they didn't deploy the S-500 missile systems for nothing. Of course, the Syrians going to use the either 300 and 400, but all that is in conjunction with the Russians, in coordination with the Russians. And Russians have a better satellites images. They have a better technology. They are there for a reason. And they're the Israelis to target a Russian base or something. So it will be a big mistake for the Israelis to do so, because all Israel's or Syria, all Russia is going to do, first of all, is hypothetically, if they target that, they're going to target whatever in the area. They're going to deploy the missiles to shoot down whatever plane the Israelis were, or fighter jet. And the third element is they're going to provide now. They have the reason and the excuse to go ahead and provide some advanced systems to, of course, they have to, whatever system they're going to deploy, whomever's going to receive it will know how to use it. Otherwise, the Russians will have to be there on the ground. And the Russians could say, hey, they bought this from us way back. Why not there? So I do expect them to react this time if Israel targets one of their the Russians' asset there. All right, Steve, I see a question from you, Steve, here. Do you think Israel used its nuclear weapon? No, it won't. It won't. Because they know what it means. Yeah. IRFH, Dr. O, are there Hamas fighters in southern Lebanon? I've heard from other sources. I won't be surprised. I do not know, but I won't be surprised, because remember the coordination between these groups. Because remember, all of them are who's been funding them, all right, for over 40 years. So what makes us think that they won't be? But I do not know for a fact that they are there, so I can answer conclusively that they are there. So, Al, Lindsay, thank you very much. Thank you so much. Hong Duan, you say, hey, Taiwan. Speaking of Taiwan, I just read this morning that now we have approved 500 million plus of weapons to Taiwan. So it looks like I might have to make a stop in Taiwan physically and see with my own eyes. I'll see how things go. All right, one more question, guys, before I leave. And thank you guys for keeping the conversation civil here. Like always, I like to acknowledge this and appreciate you for that. Francis Tango, as always. Dr. O, if I understand correctly, is the NATO troops ready for the war in the Middle East? Can we now say that World War III is about to start? Well, in a sense, yeah, it's already started. It's just not a full blown. That's not like what happened back in World War II when, for example, the Soviet Union troops marched into the outskirts of Warsaw, which is Warsaw, and waiting to see what's going to be happening when the Nazis were inside. And the Americans didn't go. We didn't go. If the Soviet didn't go in first, we would have not gone. Funny how we switch history, the facts of it, that we end up winning the war, World War II. We did not. It was the Soviet Union. And this is one thing I'm going to share with you on during the community conversation. I have some images, pictures. I'm not going to disclose. I don't want to spoil it for you. So if you can join me on Saturday at noon, you'll find out. So yeah, World War III, this is what candidate Trump saying, what the Middle East is descending into World War III. Well, let's find out first why. And we are contributing to that. So what makes us just issue statements like this without, come on. Because American politicians are not being sort of sincere and honest when they issue statements. It's just for domestic consumption and political correctness. That's all it is. So the idea, Francis, we already in World War III, just not an openly, as we know. Army with Harmony, is the Golan a pathway into Israel? Yes, when you look at the map. Let me see, or the picture. I don't have if it is shown on this picture here. Yeah, when you look at okay, hold on, let me remove this one here so you guys can see. Yeah, Jordan, yeah, the Golan Heights. It doesn't show on this one here. It shows under the Israeli part. But yeah, the idea is or the answer is yes. That could be part of that one. So, okay, one more question, and okay, no more questions from you here, guys. Okay, I'm gonna, guys, sign off here because I have to, as I said, I have to head out to the airport. Thank you so much for being here. And by the way, remember to hit the like button. I know some of you have been putting some comments that YouTube is removing the likes. I don't know why. YouTube, please, if you are listening, there is no reason to do that. So I just don't know why. So come on, YouTube. Be fair a little bit. Let my community express itself. You know, they're not saying something that is against the law or something. All they are doing is expressing their opinions. So when they put a comment, that comment is meant to be to just further the conversation, no more, no less. So no need to. So I would appreciate it, YouTube, if you just let things be. Thank you. So okay, guys. I hope you find it very informative. And again, I might do an update for you on Friday. Nothing sure yet. And we just go from there. So as always, remember, geopolitics impacts your daily life in more ways than one. Till next time, guys. Bye-bye.